Hey everybody, welcome to Starfyre Gaming. Today's something a little bit different from usual. It's not one of my Let's Plays, but it is a quick not recap, but a quick go over of Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven is a computerized version of a very popular board game, which I own, and it is very fun to play. I highly recommend anybody to get it. It takes a long time to set up, which is why the computer version is a lot better in that aspect, because you set it up by turning on your computer and loading up the game much quicker than pulling out all the pieces and all the pieces for terrain and all the different tiles and chips and what have it's. So that makes the computer far better. Now this is an early access game, so it is not fully ready. The campaign is not set up. However, you can play up to 4 people in this, and you can play multiplayer with your friends when they're on other computers. And that is also up to 4 players, which is really cool. But what I wanted to do today is just kind of show you the basics of the game and how it works. So the first thing is I've already set us up to where we're in this first dungeon here. This is part of the tutorial. So if you are not the tutorial, but the early story missions, if you want to play those, you can skip them. So I'm already set up in this, and we have to kill all enemies in the room. And when we do that, we get no money, so there's no reward as far as gold goes for this. However, when we do kill people, they will drop a pile of money, and we can pick up that money. And you can see over here, there is also a couple piles of gold on both sides of those. And the whole thing is we need to just kill these 2 guys. Pretty simple. So we start this mission, we've got our brute and we've got our scoundrel, and you can see the brute's up here, and if I highlight the scoundrel, you can see the scoundrel's picture here. This little symbol is for the scoundrel, this is for the brute. All the different classes have their own separate symbols. And the 0-2 means we have chosen 0 of the cards that are going to determine our actions for this turn. Now, it's not a card-based game as in the fact that you have to play cards. You are playing cards, but it is a tactical movement thing. There's no actual dice rolling in this, though there is randomness in this. So when you look down here, we got experience points, 0 of 45. Once you hit 45 experience points, you go from level 1 to level 2. When you go to level 2, you can pick 1 more of these cards from a better batch to make your deck better, and these are your action decks, and I'll kind of explain that in a second. One of the other things you've got is this is your combat deck, which is different from your actions deck. So your combat deck is, or your attack modifier deck as they call it. I like the combat deck because it's quicker. Each pip is the number of cards that are in your deck. So there are a bunch of 0s, -1s, +1s. There's 1 -2, 1 +2, 1 miss. This just means your attack misses altogether, and 1 critical, which it does twice damage. Now, when you're pulling these cards out, when you make an attack, one of these cards gets randomly pulled out of your deck, and that's what your modifier is. So if you have an attack of 2 and you pull a +1, your attack's going to do 3 damage. If you pull the ×2 and your attack is a 2, you're going to do 4 damage. If you pull the miss and your attack is a 2, then you of course do 0 damage. Now, the miss and the ×2 are also shuffle cards. And what that means is when you pull one of those, every card that has been used in this gets shuffled back into your combat deck and refills it up and starts it over. There are ways in the game to be able to modify this deck, to remove some of these worse ones, to add some of these other ones, and to add some other cards in there that are specific to your class. Now, as far as doing damage to people, you see the number up here, and the green bar is your hit points, and the number in the red bar is your enemy's hit points. So these are the cards that you're going to use to activate to do things. Now, we of course want to move up and attack these folks. These are our starting hexes here, so we can click on him and get him closer to the enemy because he's our tank. He's our guy that's going to absorb as much damage as possible. And you can also see when you're highlighting them, these change here. These are the items they have. So this guy's got a minor healing potion, which heals 3 damage. The Brute has got boots that increases movement by +2, and a shield that when damaged by an attack, you gain shield of 1 for that one attack. And the shield of 1 means if they do 2 points of damage to you, you've got a shield of 1. You're going to reduce 1 from that damage, and now it's 0. Now, if you look at the bottom corner, right corner of the Heater Shield card, you'll see a little symbol that looks like it's tapping. What that means is if I use the Heater Shield, it's going to tap down, and I can't use it again until I do a long rest. A long rest means you do absolutely nothing that turn except heal 2 points, refresh your deck, and get your tapped cards back. Same thing with the boots. Now, when I go here, there's a little X on the healing potion, which means it's usable 1 time only per mission. So you drink it, you heal up, and then you can't drink it again. So for our actions here, we're going to go ahead and pick the things we're going to do. And like I said, the goal is to kill these guys. So archers probably go pretty quick. That's my guess at least. And they go fairly fast. They're not going to go faster probably than the scoundrel, but they will definitely go faster than the brute. Well, not definitely, but a good chance they're going to go faster than the brute. Now, when we're playing these guys, you got to remember the enemy's targets are going to be the closest model that they can attack. If there are 2 models of equal distance away, they're going to attack the one that has the highest initiative, the quickest initiative in the turn. So if I went first with the scoundrel and moved up to the space right next to, so moved up to here, right next to the brute, and then before the brute goes, if this archer attacks, this archer is going to attack the scoundrel because the scoundrel and the brute are the same distance away, but the scoundrel went before the brute. Now, when the scoundrel's here, if this guy attacks, he's going to attack the brute because the brute is closer. It doesn't matter the timing of the attack. So I want to get the brute first. And this can kind of show you some of the cards here. So when we hover over a card, and I just hovered over Overwhelming Assault, you can see there is a top side and a bottom side. When you play 2 cards, one card you're going to use the bottom side of, the other card you're going to use the top side of. This is the one that takes the most getting used to, in my opinion, because you plan all your stuff with 2 bottoms, and then you can't use 2 bottoms because you have to use a bottom and a top, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just totally messed up. So dissecting the card, move, that's how many spaces it lets you move that turn. So this card here, if I use the bottom, it would let me move 3 spaces and then do a push 2, which means I could run up 2 spaces and push, or 3 spaces, and then after the end of my movement, I could push my target 2 spaces back. And that targets 1 adjacent enemy, so I'd have to be right next to my enemy. So if I played that card, the brute could go 1, 2, 3, it would be right next to this archer, and I could push the archer back into this trap. Now if you enter a trap, or if you push an enemy into a trap, they're going to take damage. And if you see on the right hand side of the screen, it says bear trap affects 2 damage. So if I ran up there and pushed that guy into that bear trap, he would take 2 points of damage just for me pushing him into the trap, which is a really nice way to damage people or even finish off a weaker guy. So back to this card. The other thing you could do with the bottom of this is to just use this little 2 movement is attached to this half here. So you can just move 2. Now, why would you want to move 2 instead of moving 3? You wouldn't. However, some cards, and I'll explain on the top, some of these cards here don't have a move on the bottom, and you might just need to move, and so you would use that 2 movement. So that's on every bottom half of the card. Now this 2 attack is on every top half of the card. You can see it's kind of attached to the top. This is kind of attached to the bottom. Now this is an attack 6 ability. So when you attack somebody, it's going to do a base 6 points of damage, and this little star here is a number of experience points you're going to gain by using that ability. And if you remember, 0.45. We need a lot of experience points to level up. So with this one, why would you ever want to use this 2 attack instead of the 6 attack? Well, it's this symbol right here. This symbol burns the card. So when you use cards, they go in your discard pile. When you're out of cards in your deck, you then will either do a short rest or a long rest that will denote how you're going to get your cards back out of your discard pile. The short rest, they come out of your discard pile quickly. The long rest, they also come out of your discard, but you don't do anything that turn. Short rest, you're still going to have actions on that turn, still use cards. When you burn a card, you can burn it like with the Overwhelming Assault. If I use the attack 6, it's going to burn it. It's going to go in my burn pile. You cannot get cards out of your burn pile unless you've got a card that lets you do that. And neither the Brute or the Scoundrel at level 1 have any cards to do that. They may not have any cards at all to do that. I don't know for sure. Now, there is a Mage that has a bunch of burn cards for attacks. But the Mage also has one card that lets them bring everything out of their burn pile, and then that one gets ultimate burned, which means it can't be used, it can't even come out of the burn pile for any reason. So if you're in a longer fight, burning a card early on might really take you down, because if you don't have any more cards in your discard pile to pull up to do actions, you die, and your character's out for that mission. Now he'll come back for the next mission, assuming you guys win, but he's out for that mission. So that's why you would use this little 2 attack instead of this big 6 attack. Now this big 6 attack is worth 2 XP, and in a mission like this, it might be worth it because you're just trying to get XP, because you only got to kill 2 dudes to move on. So if we're taking that into consideration, we want to move. So this here, Leaping Cleave, gives a move of 3 and a jump of 2, or jump, which means I can move up to 3 spaces and ignore any obstacles or bad guys. You can move through your own people, but you can't move through bad guys or obstacles unless you jump. And this also generates an air element. Air elements are going to appear over here in this little circle, and there'll be a lot of them eventually, maybe. And what they do is there are some abilities that if there's an element present, you can enhance that ability. So if I like this one here, also has an attack. If this is you're the little gray spot here, you can attack up to 2 adjacent guys from your location. And you get 1 experience point, and you're going to attack 3 on both of them. So 2 people next to each other is a good way to go. And there's no burn, so you get that XP, and you don't burn the cards. You can draw it up again. Now this here gives us a move 6 for 1 XP, but again, it burns the card. Now this is one of those ones that I was explaining to you benefits from having that element of air over there. And it's right here. So if there's air over here, when we activate Skewer, now you can't, if we did the Leaping Cleave and the Skewer, the Leaping Cleave would generate the air, but the air wouldn't be generated until after this character's turn. So I couldn't generate the air with the Brute and then turn around and use the air with the Brute. However, if the Scoundrel had something that could use the air that I generated with the Leaping Cleave on the Brute, then he could use the air. So the Skewer is a base 3 attack, and if I burn the air that's over in the over on the side there, it adds 1 to the attack, so it becomes an attack 4, and Pierce X, where X, Pierce X, sorry about that, affects up to X points of the target shield to be ignored. So basically, it's going to ignore 1 point, because there's a 1 right next to the Pierce. It's going to ignore 1 shield. So if these guys had a shield, then there'd be a little icon right next to their hit points. If they had a shield up, and I hit them with a Skewer that had air, I would ignore that shield. And this one also gives you 1 XP, but doesn't burn the card. And this one, if I'm here, it's going to attack the 2 squares aside from each other, or 1 behind each other. So if you could line 2 guys up, you could possibly get a nice attack on that. So we're taking a look around here. And since we only got 2 guys, we really want to beat up somebody really fast. And we want to go quickly. So I'm going to use the Shield Bash. And if it's the first card you hit, the other thing on this card is this number right here. This is your initiative order. Lower the number, the faster you go. So when you're playing everybody, it's really easy to determine, well, not real easy because sometimes you forget, but it's fairly easy to determine what order your guys are going to go in. So I want this guy to go pretty quick because I want him to be the target of the bad guys. So I'm going to click on Shield Bash, and that's going to lock my initiative in at 15, and you can see that right there. Now if I click it a second time, it gets rid of it. So I'm going to click it in because I want to move up and kill this guy. And I know what you're saying, but that's a shield. It gives you shield 1, and this just lasts to the end of your turn. That's what this little circular thing means. So it's going to give you shield 1, but that doesn't move you. However, remember, we can click on this little move 2 to move 2. And even though he's more than 2 away, we can use the boots to add 2 to my movement to give him a 4 movement. So we could get him to right next to him to do that big smash to get the 2 XP. So we want to use the Overwhelming Assault because we want the 2 XP, because there's only 2 bad guys. It doesn't matter if we burn through the cards at this stage, which is another thing when you're almost through. That's when, you know, hey, it doesn't hurt to burn a card to gain XP for it. So we're going to click on this one here, and now we've locked in. We've got the 2 of 2. Then we're going to switch over to the Scoundrel. At this point, if you were playing multiplayer online, you're going to see everybody's shields right down here above this end selection. And then I would click on Ready, and then my little brute shield would light up so everybody would know that I've picked my 2 things. And that way everybody would know that we're still waiting on me to pull the Scoundrel stuff up. So I know if I want to go after the brute, I need to go with a slower than a 15 attack. So a 23 attack is a good one. And we look at it, and it gives an attack 3 and a disarm a trap. And disarming the trap is worth 2 XP. But it's an attack 3. There's no move. Now we could use the move 2, but we could also look at what else is out there for movement point things. Because I'd like to, if we could move up to here, we could disarm that trap and get some XP. So we're going to move forward, place our guy there. So 1, 2, 3. So we need to have at least a 4 movement. Is there a 4 movement anywhere? So there's a pull. So this here, a couple things on this. So you pull the guys towards you. Good for pulling people into traps, pulling them towards you, towards like the brute's melee. And it has a range of 3. So anybody within range 3, you're going to be able to pull towards you too. Usually best for pulling people into traps. You can turn yourself invisible so they can't attack you. And this here is persistent. So it denotes until the conditions are on the card are met, and this card basically says, on your next attack, while invisible, double the damage, and you gain 2 XP. And the invisibility condition is removed at the end of the affected character's next turn. So it would last this turn and next turn, but you would do massive damage and gain 2 XP. It is a burn card, and this generates the element of dark, which would come over here, the same like the air would have on him. So this is a good move 6, but it's also a really nice attack. Move 5 with a really nice attack. So move 3 doesn't get us there, and it inflicts poison. Move 2 lets you loot over hexes that you move over, which is really good. So Venom Shiv is a move 5. So we're going to click on Thieves' Knack and Venom Shiv, because we still want to get the XP for. Now we could move 3 and stab, or move with a different card and a stab and gain XP, but we're going to go this way. So the archers went crazy fast. So this is the archer's card. You can see the archer's got 4 hit points, a maximum move of 2, an attack usually of 2, and a range of 3. And now this is the card. They have their own action card, and they're going to draw their own action cards out, and they will have cards that will reshuffle it. This is not one of them. Usually those are their best attacks of all. but they're normally going to do whatever this card says. So the archers are going to move forward 1 space and do a 1-point attack at range of 3, which is not too bad. Now, if we look at the guys, we can't move that out of the way, so we know what they're going to do. So we're going to hit continue. If you forgot, you can just hover over it here. So he moved 1 up to get within range 3 to attack the brute, and shot the brute. Now he pulled out of the combat monster deck a -1, which is why the brute took no damage. Now we look at these traps. These are traps that they just set down, and they do 3 damage. So these traps are really nasty. We don't want them to go off on us. They're even worse than the base traps. So now they've done their things. The archer didn't shoot because he only had a range of 3. 1, 2, 3. He couldn't see anybody. So now we're like, okay, what are we going to do here? We're going to go ahead and move. Remembering, before we mess up, we want to get this big attack off for the 2 XP. Though with this attack is 2 XP as well, and it stuns. Basically, stun means when you hit somebody, they're stunned and they don't get an action on their next turn. So this is the one we wanted, so we're going to use the shield one, but we're going to do the 2 movement on it. And now, once we clicked on it, it brings up the boots to let us use the boots. So I'm going to click on the boot. And then we're going to move up to 4. To here. And I didn't move all the way to here because I want the scoundrel to get to this square so the scoundrel can disarm the bigger of the traps. So then we're going to skip the rest of our movement. And now we're going to pick the attack. Now, again, we could have picked the attack too, but we want the big attack. Target who we're attacking. Confirm target. Now it pulled the +0 from our deck. So if we hover over this, you can see on the 0, there are now 5 lit up pips and 1 dark pip, which means this deck now has only 5 lit 0s. All right, so you can see the guy died and he dropped a pile of loot. In order to collect the loot, you have to end your turn on that hex to pick it up. So the brute's turn is over, can't move anymore, can't attack anymore. So the scoundrel, we're going to use our move 5. Now we can move onto the trap, but it's going to do damage to us. So we're going to move here, and you see it does move us. It does not move us through the trap. You see the white line's going to denote where we're going. Skip the rest of the move, and now we're going to disarm that trap. And gives us 2 XP. And we're going to end the scoundrel's turn. Now we could use this potion to heal, but we haven't taken damage, so there's no point. So now you can see these cards here are in our discard. The Overwhelming Assault got burned because it had that burn symbol. So we can't use these cards again until we go do a rest. We could get this card back on a rest. But when you rest, when you do a long rest, you get all of your discarded cards back, but 1 card of your choice gets burned. So if we did a long rest here, we would have to burn 1 of our discarded cards, which would be our shield bash, so it would be pointless. But we would heal 2 as well and recover all of our spent items. If we do a short rest, requires at least 2 discarded cards to do it, so we couldn't do it. But when you do a short rest, you get all your discarded cards, and 1 random card gets burned. So you don't know what it is, but you still get to do your action. So if you are at a point where you're like, I can't just sit here and do a long rest, you do a short. All right, so now we're going to figure out what we're going to do here. One of my favorite things, let's see, we can do a move 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm thinking the rogue's probably going to be able to take out this guy. So if we were playing just 2 people together, I'm thinking the rogue's probably going to be able to take out this guy. However, I could do this trample, which goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and can put me into the gold. And so if we were playing multiplayer, you're not supposed to, I'm going to use my trample and I'm going to move to here, which is going to allow me to do this. That's goes against the spirit of the game. They don't want you doing that. Though you could. There's nothing saying you can't do it. The way the board game works is you could say, I'm going to move after the end gold and attack the archer. Takes quick time, just a couple seconds to say that. I'm not saying exactly what I'm doing, but I'm giving the scoundrel an idea. I'm going after the far gold, and I'm going to attack the scoundrel in the process by using this trample. And it's a jump, so it would allow me to move over the top of the scoundrel and get an attack on everybody I pass through, and it's worth 2 XP. It does burn the card, but we're killing everybody. And then I look, we killed a guy. Uh-oh. It doesn't quite fill up everything, which means this door is a closed door, which means there's bad guys on the other side of the door. So maybe I don't want to burn that card because there's more guys to fight. So that's why it's good to make sure you check out your surroundings and make sure doors can be opened, which is a mess up on my part. So here, Grab and Go has a loot 1, which means when you activate it, it loots everything within one space. So it would pick up this gold even though I'm not standing on it. And then I could do this leaping. No. Well, we're just kind of showing stuff. So let's go ahead and do leaping, cleave, and grab and go. And now this guy. So this is a really nice thing. Move 2, attack 2. So you step forward 1, attack this guy. Now it's a 36. Here's a move 3 and poison. Poison is a nice little thing. So this is that pull 2. You can pull him onto here. So this card is a loot 2. But the throwing knives is a range 3. You can attack up to 2 different people. There's only one guy to attack. So we're going to do the throwing knives. And the special mixture, because it gives us a 3 move and we can go over and get that gold. Because the barbarian would have told us, hey, I'm not doing the thing that I thought I was going to do. So the archer is going on 52, and he's got a move 2 and attack 3 of range 2. So he's pretty solid attack. But our scoundrel's going to go first. So he's going to do this attack 2 onto him. It's not going to kill him unless I get a crit or a +2. I got the 0, so I only did 2 points of damage to him. And now I can move 3, so I can't get to this. I could get to this goal, but I'd run over the trap and take 2 points of damage. So I'm going to run to here instead. Now, when this guy shoots, since he's got a ranged weapon, he'll shoot at the rogue, but he's going to be at a disadvantage if he doesn't move because he's right next to an enemy. And disadvantage means you draw 2 of these cards, and the worst one is the one that affects you. So now we're going to target him because we get this poison on and confirm the target. So an opponent who's poisoned, all attacks until that poison goes away gets +1 to damage. So Scoundrel is over. Now the archer's going to shoot, and he's going to move up and shoot. Did 3 damage. Now I could take that damage, or I could burn any one of my cards to avoid that damage. And I'm just going to take it because I've got that healing potion. Now if you had discard, I could burn 2 discarded cards to avoid the damage, or burn 1 available card. But we're going to just take it because we're tough. So now we're looking at this guy. I was like, I wanted to take this money with this loot. However, I want to kill this guy. So we're going to come down here and we're going to take the move 4. I could go here, but I'm running through the trap. Don't want to run through the trap. So we're just going to move 1 space. Skip the movement, and now we're going to use this attack 3. And you can see the orange, I can kind of rotate it to attack any of these 2 hexes because it attacks 2 hexes. We of course want to click here, so it's on this guy. Got the +1, killed him. So we've killed the 2 guys, which is about halfway. So there's probably 2 dudes in this room as well. So now we go to the next turn. And move X. Amount you've done damage. Move 3. Move 6, put a burn, attack 2. So let's go ahead and use this move 3. We don't really need any of these attacks. That's a nice attack. This trample's really nice. We're going to use that trample. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3. We want to grab this money here. Don't want to use a big movement on the rogue. We're going to hang on to the smoke bomb. So this would be really nice if we had the boots on the rogue. Move 2 and loot every square that you move through. So we are going to go ahead and... Oh, he's got such good cards. We're going to do these 2. So the rogue, we're just going to use the move to move there. Skip movement. Choose the attack. Skip attack. You see at the end of his turn, he picks up that gold. Now the brute, we're going to use the move here for the move 3. So we can move to there. And then we're going to do this, skip attack, end my turn, and the brute picks up the loot. So the brute's got 4 dice, four cards left. However, the rogue's only got 3. So we're kind of limited. We're going to have to do some rest. So we could rest before we go through, but we've got things to do before we do this. And when we're going to burn cards, and I hate burning cards until I have to. So we're going to go with the rogue. Now we're going to use this smoke bomb. We're going to have the rogue run into the room and then do the smoke bomb. So it can't be attacked, so we can see what's in the room and get an idea of what's going to happen. Now the backstab does +2 attacks, and you gain 1 XP when the target's adjacent to one of your allies, and +2 attack, and 1 XP when it's not adjacent to anybody. Flanking strike is a base, so that's a base 3. Flanking strike is a base 3, and +2 and 1 XP when it's adjacent to the deal. I want this backstab really badly next turn. So I'm going to use the flanking strike and the smoke bomb. Flanking strike is for the move 5, smoke bomb is for the invisible. And we're going to go super fast so we can get in there before the brute has to do anything. So the brute, we need a move. Now we could just do the balanced measure and move in 2. Just use the normal 2, and then the skewer, if they come to us, we don't know what the disposition in that room is before we pick this. It's the thing. So the spare dagger gives us a ranged attack and an XP. And I want to go after all the monsters go because I want them closer to the door. So we're going to go really slow with a ranged attack. So if we were playing multiplayer, the rogue would be I'm going in the room and going invisible. Quick. And the brute would be, I'm going to go really slow and have a ranged attack. Really fast things that you can say really quickly. So we're going to end our selection. Now, you don't see any monsters up here because we don't know where the monsters are. As soon as we enter this room, the monsters are going to spawn and they're going to get their initiatives and see what we're going to do. So we're going to go to the speed. Because remember, if we pull this one, we can't go invisible. So we're going to do the move 5. First things we're going to do is we're going to move to the door. That opens the door and it brings up this scout and this scout. Well, they're not scouts, but you know what I mean. So he's got 3 more movement points. And we're going to move over to here to pick up some gold. Then we're going to go invisible. It burns the card, but it's a safe way to open up a door. He doesn't need to heal because he has taken that 3 damage. Let's go ahead and use his healing pot. Heals him up, and we can end his turn. Now the guards, which is something I would have looked at, should have looked at. So the guards had a move 3, attack 1. So there we are. Now I'm like, oh man. I set up to do a ranged attack, and the guy's right next to me. I've got the 2 move. I could step back and do the range 3/3 attack, or I could just do the range 3/3 attack there. I don't think I can see him. I might be able to see him, but I don't know for sure. So we're going to do the move 2 to here, and then we're going to do this attack because I want the XP. And I only did 2 damage. So now the rogue over here is like, dude, you're killing me because now you're not adjacent to anybody and I can't get my big attack off. All right, so we've got 2 things left, so we know what we're going to do. These guys are lined up for that skewer. So we're going to do Provoking Roar to go as quickly as we can because we want to go before them because we don't want them to get out of that move. And then we're going to do Skewer because we're like, this is going to be awesome. Now, we only have 1 card. Can't play just 1 card, have to play 2 cards. So the rogue could do, or the scoundrel, excuse me, could do a long rest, which means won't get any advantage this turn. And at the end of the turn, the smoke bomb goes away, so we would be killing ourselves, not being able to get the double damage, and we want the double damage. So we're not going to do the long rest because it doesn't make sense. However, nobody could attack us, so if this room was full of monsters, we could do the long rest. Nobody would be able to attack us because we're still invisible till the end of our turn, and that would be a safe way to do a long rest without having to worry about being attacked. However, we're going to do a short rest. Do you want to perform it? So now it says we're going to lose our throwing knives attack, which is a really nice ability which gives us an XP. So we could burn it, or we can redraw that card, which could end up being the same card by taking a point of damage. I'm going to redraw it. And that gets rid of our self-heal, which is also pretty rough, and that move poison. But we can't take another damage to do it, so we're going to take that one. Alright, so we know we want to be able to do some massive damage. And we're invisible, so we have the ability to go really late in our turn. So this is an attack 3, which doubled to be an attack 6 for an XP, so Venom Shiv is really nice. It's a ranged attack. So that's just an attack 3, so if you were next to somebody, this would be really nice. Get a double bang bang. Now this is only an attack 2, but it is a range 3. And so they're all within range there. Now, if I'm going for XP, I'm looking at this one here. Oh, that's range attack. Oh, can't use the same card for everything, so. But I saved this backstab. And I got the flanking strike back as well. Now, I'm hoping that one of these guys is going to die by the Brute. Now, if we're playing multiplayer, I don't know what the Brute's initiative is. So, in this case, I would want to go fairly late, but make sure I had a decent move. Because if this guy steps forward, he's out of my movement. So I'm like, dang it, okay. These are going to make me go fast, and they get the big hits I want. Let's see, Thieves' Knack, and attempt 1, attack 3, Swift Bow. So the bow's in range 4. I could do throwing knives and the bow. Bow lets me move, and then the throwing knives would let me attack both of those guys. Of course, I wouldn't get I'd get the double damage. You know what? Let's do that. So we're thinking about ourselves. We're not thinking about what the Brute's got set up, because we don't know what the Brute has set up for playing multiplayer. So we're going to do throwing knives and swift bow. So these guys are going to do, wow, they actually have a ranged attack. They're going to move 1, attack 2 at range 2. So they're actually not going to move on their turn, assuming they're still alive. So the game says, all right, Brute, you're going to go first. So we know these are the only 2 guys. So I'm going to go ahead and use this 6 movement one, because these guys should not be alive at the end of this turn, to get that XP, even though I only want to move 1 space. And I got that 1 XP. And now I screwed up because I wasn't thinking. I wanted to use this to kill them both. And that's where you got to pay attention to what your cards are, because you'll make mistakes like that and you'll be like, damn it, and there's no go back. Though I still got 1 XP. I would have got 1 XP, wouldn't have burned the card. So in a bigger one, it would have made more sense. In this one, it doesn't really matter. So here, I'm just going to do a strength 2 attack, disarm. Disarming means the opponent doesn't get to attack. So we're going to target this guy, confirm target. Did 2 and killed him. Oh, didn't kill him. He's got 1 hit point left. So Brute's like, I done messed up. So the scoundrel's going to do this move 2 and loot every hex you enter. Just kind of a fun little way. If there was multiple, you know, I move through it, I'm going to pick it up. Would have picked it up anyways at the end of the turn. But like if I was here, could have ran through these and picked up both of them. And we're going to attack 2 people. That's what this target 2 means. Range 3, attack 2, and I'm going to get an XP out of this. So that guy's dead. Didn't give me the invisible crit. Didn't give me the times 2 damage. Maybe I must have had to bend because I don't know. Didn't get the times 2 damage, which is a sad thing. So we're going to use our shield. Reduce that to 1 damage. All right. So now we're like the Brute. Okay. But I got nothing. I'm going to do a long rest with the Brute. Took that point of damage, and this way you guys also see how the long rest works. So I click on long rest. And that's his action. It fills in 2 of 2. Now, nobody else knows I'm doing a long rest. If we were doing multiplayer, I would say long rest, because you can say that quickly. So now this guy, Jason 1 here, the backstab does extra damage, 1 extra damage when the target is not adjacent to one of his allies. He has no allies, so he can't be adjacent to any of them. Thieves' Knack is an attack 3. Venomous Shiv is an attack 3. So I'm looking at XP as well. Quick Hands is a move 2. So this one is kind of so if we're looking for money, which I want XP over money, but if we're just pure money, this would let me move 2, boom, boom, attack. And then I could take this one to move 5. Which would let me get over here to get some gold. I am still going to use that one, but I'm going to use it a little bit slower. Oh no, because that's... So if I use it, I couldn't get an attack. that would let me get an attack if it didn't kill. But then if I killed it, I wouldn't get an XP. So we're just gonna try to do something that's gonna make sure we get XP. So we're gonna do backstab. Burns a card, but again, this is the last guy. He's only got 2 hit points. More than likely, he's gonna die. Now we don't guarantee he's gonna die because I could pull that miss right there. Because every time you pull cards, more likely you're gonna pull that card. So we're gonna end selection. So the guard's just going to shield up and do an attack 2 poison. So if he's still there, he's going to attack whoever's next to him. He's going to get a shield up, but not till his turn, so the shield won't affect the scoundrel because the scoundrel goes first. And this here means that he's going to reset his action deck. So all the things that he had, he could get to again. So scoundrel's first. We're going to use the move 2. We're not going to screw up and do the move 6. We're going to move to there. And then we're going to use this attack to get the XP. Pull the -1, still did 4 damage. And down goes that guy. Now it's the end of the turn, but it's not the end of the round. So if he had anything he could do, if he had movement or stuff, we would move him onto a pile of gold to pick up some money. But he did a long rest instead. So perform long rest, and now you pick which cards you want to get rid of. So I would get rid of this grab and go. So burn, grab and go. It gets put in the burn. Since I did long rest, the boots and the shield both get reset. End the turn. And victory because we killed the 2 guys. Exit the dungeon, and then I just want to show you kind of the post stuff real quick. So we unlocked Gibbet Hill. Oh, it didn't show us the little. So usually when you're finishing a mission, it's going to pull up a mission. It's going to show you all the, this is how many people things kill, this is how much things people killed and stuff like that. And that's basically the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you found it informative, and hopefully you can decide whether this is a game you want to play or not. This is early access. There's a campaign that is coming out. It's not out yet because it is early access. The plan for this for me was just to do this as kind of a one-off to kind of show the game. However, if people start saying they want to see a Let's Play of this, I might throw that in the rotation of the Let's Play that I'm doing. So throw a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this game. Let me know if you want me to do a Let's Play. And as always, if you liked this, hit the like button. If you enjoy the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It helps out a bunch, and I appreciate all that. And with that, I've been Sir Joseph. You guys have been awesome. And until later, stay safe.